In the gospel text of today, we will read one of the most famous parables of Jesus, found only in the Gospel of Luke, a parable that is known as the parable of the Good Samaritan. It is a parable of a Jew who goes on a journey. And as the Jew goes on a journey, he is robbed by brigands and robbers and left half dead. A priest passing by the way sees the man lying on the street and walks by on the other side. A Levite sees the man and walks by on the other side. But a Samaritan, who was regarded as an enemy of the Jew, passes by, sees the man and helps the man by bending down, putting oil on his wounds, taking him on his ass, and even leading him to the innkeeper, and not merely asking the innkeeper to look after him, but also telling the innkeeper that he would pay back whatever he owed when he returned from his travels. The question is, who was neighbor to the one who fell among robbers? The background of this parable is that Israel was one country. Israel was separated after the death of Solomon in the year 921 BCE into the north and into the south. The north retained the name Israel and had as its capital Samaria. The south was named Judah and had as its capital Jerusalem. In the year 721 BCE, the Assyrians came from the north and captured Israel and took as their wives and concubines Israeli women. The children through that union were known as Samaritans. Because they were children of Gentiles, that is Assyrian men and Israeli women, they were looked down by their brothers and sisters who were in the south and so far uncontaminated according to them. And so therefore, the Jew from the south would look down upon the Samaritan. And this continued until the time of Jesus. In the gospel story of today, the lawyer who comes to test Jesus and to ask him about the question about the greatest commandment is not satisfied when Jesus tells him that he must love neighbor just as he loves God, and asks the question, who is my neighbor? In his response, Jesus tells the story of the Good Samaritan. When Jesus narrates the actions of the priest, he uses 19 words. When he narrates the action of the Samaritan, he uses 85 words because he knew that the lawyer who was listening to him was a Jew. And the lawyer would never believe that a Samaritan would help the man and that the priest, the Jew, and the Levite, the Jew, would pass by. He would expect that after the priest passed by and the Levite passed by, the Samaritan would also pass by. And that is why Jesus goes into great detail to explain the action of the Samaritan. The Samaritan got down from his ass, knelt near the man, put oil on his wounds, carried him on his ass, took him to the innkeeper and asked the innkeeper to look after him. There was no need for details. Jesus could simply have said, the priest passed by and passed by on the other side. The Levite passed by and passed by on the other side, but the Samaritan helped him. If Jesus had said only that, it is very likely the lawyer would not believe. But when Jesus goes to great detail to explain all of the actions, the lawyer has no choice but to believe. Some think that the parable is saying that the priestly class and the Levites, who were also the priestly class, did not help, but a lay person helped. If that was the case, The layperson would have been a Jew. Something that Jesus is taking a dig against priests of that time. If that were the case, the third person would be a lay Jew. The point is that the third person is not a Jew, but a Samaritan. Someone who was looked down upon by the Jew. And Jesus is thus telling the lawyer, who was a Jew, that the Samaritan whom he despises, the Samaritan whom he considers inferior, the Samaritan whom he has a prejudice against, is good. So the message of the parable of the Good Samaritan is that the Samaritan is good. And so therefore, we need to ask ourselves today about our own prejudices, about our own stereotypes, about our own labeling of people. Do I relate with people based on my prejudice against them? Do I relate with people based on my labeling of them? Do I relate with people based on my assumptions of them? In today's parable, the call is to realize that human beings are human beings, and that I must look at a man or a woman with an open heart, an open mind, an open eye. I must look at a man or a woman as my brother or my sister. I must give a positive interpretation. If I have to give an interpretation or make a judgment, it has to be positive. Let us stop labeling people based on the community they come from. Let us stop labeling people based on the language they speak. Let us stop labeling people based on the color of their skin or the face and shape of their head or nose. Let us realize that we are all children of God, members of one human family, all of us moving towards our destiny, which is the goal and the place prepared for each one of us by the Lord. When we read the parable of the Good Samaritan, let us know that the Samaritan was good, and that everyone we meet today will also be